So we are going to start with a new chapter called gas power cycle today. And this is our ninth chapter after finishing exergy. Uh, Nisarg, anything funny you want to share with me? Okay, in this chapter we are going to talk about gas power cycle, which is a type of thermodynamic cycle. So this is one type of thermodynamic cycle we are going to look in this particular chapter is gas power cycle. There is another power cycle, which is known as vapor power cycle, and which we are going to seek in the chapter 10 in the next chapter. Namely, this gas power cycle is a thermodynamic cycle whose working fluid is single gaseous phase. Okay, whereas this vapor power cycle contains two-phase or multi-phase. So in essentially these two phases are not parallelly present. Essentially in one part of the cycle, your phase may be liquid, and in the next phase it could be in the next cycle, next part of the cycle, it may be gas. So gas. Okay. So in this particular chapter, we are going to focus only on the power cycles or the thermodynamic cycle whose working fluid is a single gaseous phase, that is mostly air we will take up in this particular chapter. So the overview of this chapter is we are going to start with the introduction of power cycles, what are the various types, gas power cycles and vapor power cycles, and different classification. There are open and closed thermodynamic cycles, there are internal and external combustion engines, and so. Next, we are going to take up the overview of an reciprocating engine, and which would be the main focus of this particular chapter. Essentially, this reciprocating engines are more widely used in your automobiles. Next, we will take up the assumptions based on which your these cycles work, and which is also called air standard assumptions that we are going to take up in order to analyze the thermodynamic cycles that are involved in reciprocating engines or gas power cycles. There are two types of gas power cycles that are widely used. We are going to cover that: Otto cycle and diesel cycle. Otto cycle is also called spark ignition engine. I mean, this is the ideal cycle which we are going to take, and based on the application is application wise it is used in the engine which is called spark ignition engine, and which works on ideal Otto cycle. And we'll look into details about how these engines work. The second type of cycle that we are going to read in this particular class is the diesel cycle, the idle diesel cycle, and the application wise compression ignition engines that works essentially based on these diesel cycles. There's in some process wise they are in some sense differ and in the cycle manner. So that is why we have two cycles, and we'll look more into the details when we look further. There are few other modified thermodynamic cycles through which some engines work, namely Ericsson and Stirling cycles. We will also look that, not in details, but yes, we will get into touch with these cycles. Second last, we are going to take up the Brayton cycle, which is often used in gas turbine engines. You are going to take up some mechanical advantages, mechanical work from turbine. Those are based on Brayton cycles. And lastly, we will take up idle jet propulsion cycles, which is close, which is very much close towards Brayton cycle, but the only difference is here you have a nozzle through which the gas is being expanded, through which you get thrust, and this type of thermodynamic jet propulsion cycles are used in aircraft engines.
The ramjet engine.
So there are different types of jet propulsion engines: ramjet, scramjet, okay. Yes, so this would be our overview of this particular gas power cycle. So we are not going to take up a vapor power cycle in this particular chapter, since it has the philosophy of the different working fluid which is having two phase. Okay, so we'll stick on gas power cycle in this particular chapter, since your working fluid is single gaseous phase, that is air. Okay, to start with the introduction. So we already know that what are thermodynamic cycles. So what is cycle before? I mean, what do you mean by cycle? When a process, when a thermodynamic process starts from one initial point and it comes back after doing some other process and comes back to the same position, we call these kind of on some, let's suppose, PV plot or TV plot. Okay, if you start from one state and you come again and arrive at same state finally, you call these kind of process is cycle. Okay, and these cycles are advantageous in a way that we can get the work out of it, advantageous work out of it. Okay, and the power cycles are cycles which convert some heat input into mechanical work output, which is similar what I told here. Okay, and yes, the gas power cycle is defined as the power cycle in which the working fluid is single gaseous phase fluid, example air. In this chapter we'll take up the air as my working fluid for all my cycles. We also should know about the definition of engines. So there are few keywords that I'm going to oftenly use in this particular chapter: engines, heat engines, reciprocating heat engines. So engines are the devices or system used to produce net power output, are often called engines. Okay, so any device that produces advantageous work or advantageous net power output is called engine. And doesn't matter it it works on heat or chemical reactions or some other means of energy. If it produces some advantageous net power output, we call this as engines. Okay. Whereas the heat engine are defined as, the heat engine is a system that converts heat or thermal energy to mechanical energy precisely. So this is a type of engine which converts heat or thermal energy to mechanical energy, and which can then be used to do mechanical work. A type of heat engine is we are going to often take up in this whole chapter, uh, is reciprocating heat engine, also often known as piston engine. Is typically a heat engine that uses one or more reciprocating piston to convert pressure into a rotatory motion. And we'll see in details, very much details about this reciprocating heat engine, what we are going to study further in detail. We should also know the start, where does these heat engines and this internal combustion engines or reciprocating engines first starts. The first commercial successful internal combustion engines was created by Etienne Lenoir around 1860, and the first modern internal combustion engine was created in 1876 by Nicholas Otto, after which our Otto cycle, uh, the cycle is named after this scientist. So internal combustion engines. Okay, so I missed one thing here. These reciprocating heat engine, or the heat engines, may be classified as two types of engines. One is internal combustion engine, or another is external combustion engine. So internal combustion engines are the engines where the working fluid is being heated internally. Okay, heat is given to the system when your control volume is chosen and your heat is being produced inside here itself, I mean internally within the control volume. Whereas the external combustion engines, such as, I mean, the example of this internal combustion is your automobile engine. Whereas this external combustion engines, heat is being supplied to the system externally from some working fluid is being heated somewhere, and it is being brought into the system later. Heat is being inputted externally and then it is being brought to the system. So one such type of external combustion engine, you can think of a steam power plant. So in boiler, your steam is being generated by heating up the water externally. Okay, and then it is flown through turbines to get the um, power output. Okay, so yes, so the first internal combustion was created way long back, and still we are uh, in a philosophy to make things more efficient. That is what our, I mean, modern Okay. Am I audible? Like there was some internet problem here from this side.
Yes, sir, audible.
Oh, it's audible now. Okay. So I was telling that I mean the modern day study on internal combustion engines are basically how to make it more efficient, and so because the basic cycles were already being given 1800 itself. We are in a phase to make it more efficient. That's it. What we are currently doing actually. Okay. Uh, Next thing I want to talk about is uh, the actual cycles that in reality what these internal combustion engines are uh, in this red dotted process. You can see from it may be going from some state 1 to 2 by some 2, 3, 4 and something, but we are going to analyze this particular actual cycle through this idle cycles. Okay, the reason being it is easy to analyze without uh, giving up on the errors, giving on accuracy. Okay, so even if I am idealizing it through idle cycles such as Otto or diesel cycles or Brayton cycles, so even though I am idealizing it, but nevertheless I'm not giving up the accuracy, because when the actual cycle is stripped of all the internal irreversibilities and complexity, we end up with a cycle that resembles the actual cycle closely, but it is made up of totally internal reversible processes. So we are not giving up on the accuracy. Such cycle is called idle cycles, and we are going to uh, analyze thermodynamics. I mean, all the formulas and all the essential analysis we are going to talk in reference of these idle cycles, not the actual cycles. We are not going to analyze these actual cycles in reality. Okay, in reality we are going to talk about the idle cycles which are close towards these actual cycles. A typical engine schematic or animation shown over here. This is internal combustion engine. So you can see, let's suppose it starts from 1. Okay, so 1 is your intake. So intake is getting fuel, air fuel mixture from this left side, and valve is being open from here to here. From process 1 is, and after that process that happens is called compression. In compression, we'll talk about in details of what's happening, but just to give you an overview of how these engines work, just to to motivate you, this is the animation of it. First the intake is happening, then the compression is happening by the means of this piston cylinder arrangement, and then due to this this spark plug, the spark happens, uh, uh, and this allows this air fuel mixtures to burn or to combust, and it increases the pressure and the temperature, and in turn due to this large pressure you can actually push this piston to and fro, and this piston is being connected through the connecting rod, and it is finally connected to the crankshaft. And in your kinematics of machine, you can I mean, you might be knowing that because due to the reciprocating motion of piston, the crankshaft revolves, and this revolution is being connected to the gear boxes, and through with particular speed or whatever the desirable torque you want, you can provide this torque or this RPM to your wheels. Okay, and finally the leftover gases are being exhausted at the later stage. So this is typically for process it undergoes a typical internal combustion engine. So essentially it is IC engine, or more precisely SI, spark ignition internal combustion engine. This is okay, and this is also 4-stroke. We'll see what are these keywords: 4-stroke, 1-cylinder or 4-cylinder. We'll see in more details. So this is particularly, you have 1 cylinder, and if you have parallelly 4 cylinders doing the same thing in cycle, I mean there are 4 pistons in it, and parallelly it is moving, and it is providing the torque to the crankshaft parallelly. It will give you, I mean it will be told that it's 4-cylinder, and 4-stroke is nothing but in one cycle, in one complete cycle, it crosses 4 to and fro's from top dead center to bottom dead center, and this is why it is called 4-stroke. So we'll talk in details in the subsequent slides. This is more realistic. I mean, this is an animation which also gives you a corresponding PV plot on PV. I mean, what's happening on the PV plot? It's also giving. So this is your intake. Intake is happening. Initially, it is intake is happening. This is intake is happening, and then compression is happening. Okay, adiabatically compression is happening at constant volume. The heat is being added, and then the power stroke is this, and then exhaust. So this is a typical Otto cycle that we look, and diesel cycle is constant volume process, heat addition process is there. We'll look into, but this is just to motivate you guys what's happening inside this particular piston cylinder arrangement or the IC engine. Okay. So as an overview of a reciprocating engine, we are going to look up few nomenclatures, which is essential part of understanding the IC engine. So some few nomenclatures such as we will be frequently encountering, such as top dead center, TDC. You guys might have heard about this. This is nothing but the position of the piston when it forms the smallest volume in the cylinder. So this piston, initially it was here. Okay, and because of the air pressure it was here, and it may go to and fro. Okay, and the maximum up position it can go till here, and okay, and this position is called top dead center. Okay, where the volume of the air is smallest volume that it captures. This air fuel mixture is coming from here, and exhaust is here, and this volume you can think of as a smallest volume that it can have at any moment of time, and this is called, and this position is called actually TDC. The bottom dead center is the position of the piston when it forms the largest volume in the cylinder, when it is far away from this inlet and exhaust valves. Here the maximum it went through here, so it is, this thing is called bottom dead center. Another nomenclature which is widely used is called stroke. This is the distance between the top dead center and the bottom dead center is the largest distance that a piston can travel in one direction, and that is called the stroke of the engine. So this is called stroke of the engine. This length is called stroke, and it is often denoted by L subscript, capital L. Next thing is also often used is the bore. Bore is the diameter of the piston is called the bore. So essentially this your piston is your actually a cylinder. So this volume is basically a cylinder, and your piston is looks something like this. This is your piston connecting rod, and yes, this is your, there are some piston rings will be there, so that there should not be any leakage of the gases, or the oil should not leak into the combustion chamber. Okay, so this diameter D is called the bore. The air or the air fuel mixture is drawn in the cylinder through the intake valve. So this valve is called intake valve, and this another valve is called exhaust valve. So these valves open and closes synchronously, open and closes in sync. Okay, in proper syncing. Okay, without syncing, the gases will escape at intermediate time, so that will not be desirable for engine to work. So it should be in sync. And the combustion products are expelled from the cylinder through exhaust valves. There is something called clearance volume, the minimum volume formed in cylinder when the piston is at sorry, TDC is called clearance volume. So when your piston is at the topmost position, the volume that it contains, the gases, residual gases contains all the time, is called the clearance volume. This volume, so essentially this volume, these volumes, I mean upper volume, it's called clearance volume. Sorry, clearance volume. And displacement volume, there is something called displacement volume as well. The volume displaced by piston as it moves between TDC and BDC is called displacement volume. So this, the leftover, I mean from TDC to BDC, this L length times this area. So this is your diameter, bore diameter. So L times pi d by 2 whole square, or L pi L d square by 4. Am I correct? So this is your displacement volume. Okay. So these things will often encounter. We'll see in the numerical example, so that it will be more clear to you guys how to take up numericals of, I mean, these kinds. The next thing we will often see in this engine study is the compression ratio. The ratio of maximum volume formed in a cylinder to the minimum clearance volume is called the compression ratio of the engine. So essentially this is the Vmax by Vmin. So Vmax is what? Volume at bottom dead center, the whole volume, divided by at when TDC. So TDC is your clearance volume. So the whole volume from BDC to here divided by the clearance volume, and volume at TDC is called the compression ratio. of the engine. So you should not be confused with the pressure ratio, which we'll look into in the later chapters. I mean later topics. Okay, there is something called a mean effective pressure. So mean effective pressure is what? This is a fictitious. So this mean effective pressure. So let's suppose I'm making some process in some process in PV diagram. So this is my process that is happening. This is one cycle is happening. So to calculate the area work or the work produced by this particular cycle, so work is nothing but pressure times PdV, right? So this is what this is your real pressure, okay? But in your engine, the pressure inside your engine may be fluctuating in nature. Not maybe, it's actually fluctuating with time. So P is a very prominent function of time and space as well. Okay, X and T. So it usually you cannot calculate work efficiently if you take this P as a function of X and time. So what we do instead, we take up a fictitious pressure. So this is called mean effective pressure. And what it does, just by multiplying this P times this change in volume, you will get the same work. This is equal to the same work what you would get by actual cycle, right? So in a way, we are hypothesizing one pressure in such a way that you will get the same work out of it. Okay. So it is defined as it is a fictitious pressure if it is acted upon the piston during the entire power stroke would produce the same amount of net work as produced during the actual cycle. Okay. If you multiply this PdV, you will get the work, and actually also you will be getting the same work. And so work net. So here I can do the math. Work net is equal to P or MEP, to be more precise, mean effective pressure times the change in volume. So what is your change in volume? Piston area times the stroke or the displacement volume, so, or whatever the volume you have, displacement volume. So VL, this is displacement volume. We have already seen that this is your displacement volume, what we talked. Yes, this one. So if you multiply with P, you will get W net. So MEP can be defined as W net divided by displacement volume. Okay, so this is your formula for that. So but let's keep in mind that this is a fictitious pressure. So it doesn't actually work, but we approximate it through the linear function so that we can calculate it easily. Okay. So these reciprocating engines are classified as spark ignition engines and compression ignition engines, depending upon how the combustion process in the cylinder is initiated. The SI engines, the combustion of the air fuel mixture is initiated by the spark plug, what we have seen over in this particular animation. The spark plug is here, and I have not shown the diesel engine over here because in the diesel engine we don't need a spark plug where air fuel mixture is self-ignited, placing the mixture above the self-ignition temperature. So the pressure is brought so high so that the air fuel itself self-ignites without having spark plug, and those kind of engines are called compression ignition engines. In next two section we will discuss Otto and diesel cycles based on your, SI engines are typically based on the ideal Otto cycles we'll look into, and these compression ignition engines are based on diesel cycles. Okay, and we'll look into in more details. Okay, so then we'll finish this also. The next thing we are going to talk about is the air standard assumptions. So there are few assumptions that we need to make up first in order to actually work with these auto, diesel and all those sort of cycles. Unless and until we are going to assume air in certain specific manner, we are not going to apply our analysis. Okay. So what are those assumptions? So you can see in actually air and fuel are being burnt into the combustion chamber in your piston cylinder volume, and combustion products are being coming out. But in ideal case, what we'll assume is that air is being heated by in some sort of heating section, and the heated air is being coming out. So the combustion process is replaced by the heat addition process in ideal cycles. But the combustion process may have very complex phenomena, and we are not going to look into those complex behavior of uh, burning of O2 with some fuels. Okay, and we are not going to look into into the micro molecule wise that what's happening inside. We are not going to do seek anything chemically here. Chemical analysis, no. For us, for in this particular course, we are not going to do the chemical analysis, what's happening and why I mean those things are happening chemically. We just will replace this conversion thing with actual, this heating of the air uh, in order to uh, do the analysis for ideal cycles. So there are a few assumptions that we are going to make, and which are there are four assumptions. The working fluid is air which continuously circulates in closed loop and always behaves as an ideal cycle. This would be my first assumption. So my ideal gas laws, gas equations, we can actually make use of our ideal gas equations here. We are going to tell that my air is being treated as ideal gas, and this makes no error in that, because the pressure and volumes inside the internal combustion engine is in the range, in the sufficient range, so that we can actually safely assume that air can be ideal gas. All the processes that make up the cycle are internal reversible. The processes are internal reversible in nature. Okay, there is quasi-static, slow and steady process is happening internally. The combustion process is replaced by heat addition process from an external source. This we have already seen. The exhaust process is replaced by the heat rejection process. Okay, so this is one heat addition process that is happening. Combustion process, and exhaust process is the heat rejection process that restores the working fluid to its initial states. So this is very big thing. So actually your cycle is going from one inlet, or it is going something like this, and it is coming again to this. Okay, it is going this and coming again to this. But in doing so, we assume that by rejecting the heat at the last stage, it restores the working fluid as an initial state. So we are coming at the same place here. So then you can actually think of your process in ideally you can actually replace this actual cycle with the ideal cycle, some ideal cycle. So these cycles will be maybe Otto cycle or diesel cycles, or so we will look into the next class in details what these Otto cycles and diesel cycles and all. Okay. So yes, that concludes our first lecture today. So any question so far? No, yes. Anybody should tell.
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay. So I'm self-explanatory, or maybe you guys have already seen these things, right? If I'm not wrong, have you seen these things before? These sort of cycles, and have you encountered? No? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So it's easy for you.
Yes.
Okay, fine. Okay, I should take attendance. Okay, if you guys don't have any question, we can leave the class then.